Well, this video will be a continuation of the Cornucopia. I'm gonna have to do it as a series because there's quite a bit to it and actually links a lot in regards to ancient legends and how they've been passed through, and they're embedded in all sorts of symbols, but mainly architectural symbols which will connect the capitals, the larger capitals of the world, from London, well, everywhere really. But anyway, Cornucopia, the Horn of Plenty, and there are multiple origins to the story and multiple connections to it, but this will be focusing on Zeus, which I think is the most interesting of these stories. And yeah, so the Cornucopia, Zeus, Amalthea, and well, Athena, and a few others as well. So this is from Sydney, but the sky god Zeus, now his symbols are the eagle and the lightning bolt. And this is from the GPO in Sydney. So again, Jupiter Ammon is another one where you'll see like a horn Zeus, but the lightning bolts again. These are the symbols of Zeus, also known as Jupiter to the Romans. Zeus to the Greeks, Jupiter to the Romans. So it's in Zeus and Jupiter. It's now, like Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, they were visible to the ancient people as well. So they were amongst the known. Planet means wanderer, anyway. So Zeus, the sky god, again, just this older depiction, you see the lightning AWA building. This is important because I'll get to it, but for instance, in the Matrix movie as well, there's some very lovely subtle hints to this as well. For instance, Morpheus being the god of dreaming, and a whole bunch of other stuff, but that'll be in another video. The eagle and the lightning, these classical imagery of Zeus. And Zeus as called by the Romans Jupiter. Now we need to go back. Now, Zeus's father was Saturn, or Cronus, as in chronometer, father time as well. This is Saturn mutilating Uranus. Uranus, this poor guy here, was the father of Saturn, or Cronus, and Cronus was the father of Zeus. Now, why is this happening? Okay, so again, the scythe, Saturn, father time. So now, why that happened was because now Cronus, or Saturn, mutilated Uranus, his father, because Uranus believed that one of his children would overthrow him, and he was, well, started trying to kill him off. So Saturn Saturn killed his father. Now the thing is that Cronus, or Saturn, also feared his children would overthrow him, and so he ate them, trying to protect his rule. So that's like a classic image of Saturn eating his children. So Saturn, the Titans, and then you have the gods of Olympus, Zeus and his siblings, more importantly. But again, this classical imagery of Saturn with the scythe, how it still carries on. Father time, Chronos, chronometer, and so Rhea and Kronos, or Saturn, were the parents of Zeus, and so to protect her children, now Kronos, or Saturn, had already eaten most of the children, and so to protect Zeus, she hid Zeus away and put him under the protection of Amalthea and several attendants, including the faun. So like the satyr or Pan, they were amongst. So there you see the faun, and there we see Jupiter. So Zeus was nourished by Amalthea, who came in a goat form, and so this picture cleans it up a little bit, so you see him drinking from there, but other depictions will even, like, literally he's drinking. Very similar to Romulus and Remus being suckled by the she-wolf. Interesting pic. So we have the attendants of Zeus shielding the crying Zeus. He's being nourished by Amalthea. So this is a Roman relief, I think 1st century, but and this shielding is an important theme as well. We'll get to that as But while Zeus was playing with Amalthea, he accidentally broke off one of her horns. that is the Zeus-based origin of the Horn of Plenty, so also called the Horn of Amalthea, the Horn of Plenty. So Zeus broke off the horn, he didn't feel good about it at all, and then he gifted it to humanity. So just as Zeus was nourished by Amalthea, so would humanity be nourished by this gift from the gods of Olympus who overthrew the titans, such as Cronus. So again, you see this picture where Amalthea is in the goat form and she's nourishing Zeus. So that's the Zeus origin, but there's more to it because in appreciation of this, Amalthea was placed amongst the stars in the constellation Auriga. It's Auriga, and Capra is also what it's called. So there we see Amalthea was placed in the stars. But what's really interesting is that what's here, we have Perseus, the constellation Perseus. Perseus was the son of Zeus, and also Taurus and Musca and other. But anyway, Amalthea is also a moon orbiting Jupiter, so they nicely named that. It's a nice tradition that still goes on now, but we can see Perseus, and there we see Auriga, how these constellations come together. Perseus, the son of Zeus, and also, well, okay, I won't go into that, but I've covered, because the story of Perseus as described in the movie Clash of the Titans, loaded with really cool imagery and connections. Basically, it's a description of the Northern Hemisphere constellations. I already did it earlier, I didn't mention Auriga, but well, even the constellations not included, we'll go on, actually, we'll connect it. It's just a lovely system. You learn the story as a child, and then as you learn and learn more your maths and your astronomy, then you're going to realize that these legends, these stories are actually full of information. But as Rudyard Kipling said, if history was told as stories, no one would ever forget it. Well, that's actually what's been happening here. So just I'll rearrange it just okay, so you get an idea of, actually overlap more than that, but the head of Perseus killed Medusa. This will also connect to, not too long ago I did an upload on the rod of Asclepius and how the blood of Medusa was given by Athena to Asclepius, and he was able to cure mortality with that. But anyway, again, rod of Asclepius, it's a recent upload. But why is that nice? Well, because of the Aegis. So there we see an older painting of Zeus with wearing the Aegis. And there we see, that's missing the head, but there we also see the Aegis as well. You might have heard the term under someone's... Well, the Aegis is a shield to protect. If you're under someone's Aegis, you're under their protection. Now, there are different descriptions. So sometimes the Aegis is described as a shield, other times it's described as a drum, the skin of... Because what is the Aegis? Aegis, it was made from the hide of Amalthea's goat form. So just like a drum. Now, even the Zeus, lightning, thunder, banging the drum. Also, that's a nice way to think about it as well. But also as this particular shield, and well, it's, what do we have? We have Medusa there. Now, that's probably not the clearest one, but here we have a statue of Athena. This is in Sydney again. Well, she's also wearing the Aegis. So Zeus was the origin, but it's as later it developed and become more associated with Athena, and she's also wearing the Medusa, well, the Medusa imagery there, and you just get it now, just to highlight it a little bit more. So the Aegis, now a shield. Now Athena often depicted, pardon me, Athena often depicted with the shield, the goddess of defensive warfare. And now, okay, now the Aegis missile shield. It's a shield. That's where the name comes from. So this is why, just like naming, well, weapon systems, but also planets and many other things, that a lot of this classical information, these stories, just like we still use Latin to name species and that type of stuff. Well, it's, with a bit of knowledge in the classics, a lot of things start to make sense. They're not just sort of, anyway. But Athena, who wears it, and she's also connected to the Cornucopia as well. So this is the origin of the Cornucopia through the Zeus story, but it also will connect to symbols in architecture, stories, legends, all these types. It just wonderfully bleeds into one another, and the constellations, the stars, the quadrivium, music, arithmetic, geometry and astronomy, and these, like we're sort of, if you like me, you're educated in the state school system, which means you're basically indoctrinated, and all this sort of stuff was poo-pooed, and like I was a smarmy bastard. Oh yeah, no, science, rationality. Well, I believe in science, maths, and these types of things, but I've fortunately, thanks to Randall Carlson and Scott Onstott, I was given, and well, the modern rationalist, well, they poo-poo this stuff because they don't understand it. There's actually a beauty here, and once you break free, I broke free of your materialist indoctrinations, patting on the back self-righteousness, and there's wonderful information, like in terms of hard information, as well as the importance of stories. Now, Jordan Peterson, for instance, most people would have heard of him. Now he's become famous for something else. But if you look at his earlier lectures, he talks about the importance of biblical story and these classical stories and these ancient stories. But there is, whatever Sam Harris wants to say, there is a truth in these stories now, because they're important for many reasons, and not just the moral. Science can explain how things happen. It does have no connection to how to live your life. Anyway, that's off topic. But yeah, so these stories, they're not just silly fairy tales for Hollywood to turn into blockbusters and totally miss the point. There's a beauty in there. There's important connections, and that's why, well, for instance, like I had no idea about Amalthea. I had no idea about so much of these things. But then once you start to learn, well, the numbers, the architecture, but especially the stories, you start to see, and it's a wonderful way of learning. For instance, the number 108. Once it's called superstition, and it's suppressed, let's say, by the materialist. But once you learn the importance of the number 108, you've the world is yours, and you start to realize how big is the moon, how far is it from the Earth. So there is an application, a tangible. Well, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, this is the story of Zeus and the Cornucopia. Lovely stories, lovely information as well. It's not just a fairy tale. It's a method of education, a method of remembering and learning things, which our modern system of education does not have. I come out of high school, I did all the science, I did all of that, and I couldn't tell you the size of the Earth, I couldn't tell you the size of the moon, the distances, the relationships between them. No. Once I got into the Hermetics, the esoteric, these traditions, I now know it, not by heart, but then I can say, oh, and by the way, this, and this, and well, and by the way, look at the math of this. Oh, by the way, look at the geometry, look at the music, look at these connections. This is a superior system. Far, far superior. And this smarmy materialism needs to die, and it needs to go when we need to look at stories again. So, for instance, whatever tradition you come from, whether it's, if you want to look at the Greco-Roman or because these connections can be also made. Unfortunately, the writing is not there, so I cannot confirm it. So I'm not going to talk about it. But the Egyptian gods, the Babylonian gods, and also I'll get into it later, India as well, because for instance, Greco-Buddhist architecture, and then the connections through to Hinduism. It's just wonderful. It's just so strong. It's so profound. And through, well, it's awesome stuff. So the Cornucopia, this is just one. This is my favorite version of the origin of it, the Zeus story, because again, it ties in with so much of our previous videos in regards to, again, architecture, fountains, decorations, statues and sculptures throughout major parks as well. Again, you could just go on. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Anyway, Cornucopia, Horn of Plenty, Zeus, Saturn, Jupiter, Cronus, Amalthea, the ages, well, it's all there. And anyway, with that, hope you enjoyed. A lot more to come on this, a lot more to come. Have a good one.